You're listening to Side Hustle Pro, the podcast that teaches you to build and grow your side hustle from passion project to profitable business. And I'm your host, Nikayla Matthews-Okome. So let's get started. Hey friends, hey, welcome back to the show. It's Nikayla here, and today I have a special bonus episode powered by Comcast RISE. You guys know that last year I received a Comcast RISE business upgrade, which included technology equipment for my team. So I received a desktop, laptops, iPads for my team and I. And I can say that winning the Comcast RISE award was truly a game changer for my business. Being able to provide my team with equipment to work on Side Hustle Pro, it felt like a real boss move. And it was actually helpful also. So it leveled up how I feel about my business, how I do business, how, my team is able to operate. And that's why I have been singing the Comcast RISE program and opportunity from the rooftops for the last couple of years. You guys hear about it here. You definitely hear about it on my email list and a little bit more about it. So now in its third year, Comcast RISE celebrates having provided over 13,500 businesses nationwide with more than 125 million in monetary, marketing, and technology grants to date. Business applicants have been able to receive comprehensive grant packages, which include business consultation services, educational resources, a $5,000 monetary grant, creative production, media schedule, and a technology makeover. So Comcast RISE is committed to supporting the growth of all small businesses while advancing the objectives of diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as community investment. So in today's special episode, I also want to share the experience of my fellow Comcast RISE grant recipient, Cassandra Williams. Cassandra owns Love by the Slice, which is a Tacoma-based baking and catering company that seeks to make her community sweeter every day. As you'll hear in the episode, Love by the Slice was inspired by a church fundraiser, which needed to generate just $700. Since that fundraiser, and for nearly 20 years now, over 20 years now actually, Cassandra has created thousands of memorable cakes and treats with the right tools, a dynamite recipe, and of course, love. To help her small business survive and continue to thrive, Cassandra applied for a $10,000 grant from the Comcast RISE Investment Fund and won. Cassandra was able to expand her product offering, and it's also allowing her to offset the cost of payroll. So in addition to Cassandra's Love by the Slice business, you can find your local Comcast RISE supported businesses at sidehustlepro.co/Comcast RISE winners. Again, that's sidehustlepro.co/Comcast RISE winners to check out other RISE businesses in your neighborhood. So now let's get right into Cassandra's story. All right. Cassandra, welcome to the guest chair. How are you?
I'm doing well this morning. Thank you so much for having me this morning.
Of course. I am very happy to speak to a fellow Comcast RISE recipient and just hear how your experience has been. And also, once I started looking you up and hearing about your business, I'm so impressed with what you do and how it all came to be. So for those who don't know, tell us a little bit about the story of how Love by the Slice came to be. I understand it all started with a church fundraiser,
yes,
right?
Yes, it did. My husband and I had just joined the church about 10 months after having our first baby. And we were involved in the youth department and the music department at that time. And so we kept going to the meetings for the department, and they kept bringing up the same $700 assessment. And I was like, oh, $700 isn't that much money. Why don't we come up with a creative way to resolve this issue, right? And so we decided, we had a great pound cake recipe that my aunt had handed down to us. And I was like, let's make pound cake and sell pound cake and see if we can't help the department raise money. And we used to bake that pound cake one way. It was an almond pound cake or lemon pound cake, and it had cream cheese icing on it. So it just looked like this little white cloud, of deliciousness. Yeah. And so we made those available. We had a bake sale, and we ended up raising enough money for them not only to cover the assessment for that year, but also the year following and the year following that. So it was very successful, right? And so after that happened, other auxiliaries started asking us to help them as well. And so we did this for Sunshine Band. We did it for the youth department. We did it for the music department. And then all of a sudden, about a year later, we were having these bake sales. I looked up, we had baked like 25-pound cakes, and people were meeting us at our car in the parking lot to get their cakes, right? They were putting the money in our hands and they were taking their cakes.
That's how you know it's
right.
good.
And they were putting the cakes in their cars. So the cakes weren't even going into church anymore. Every cake we sold was pre-order, so it wasn't being made at a bake sale.
This is personal now.
It had gone far beyond what we started. And so I looked at my husband. I said, this really feels like a business. And he was like, well, I have a job already and I don't want a second one. So if this is something...
He wasn't about the side hustle life.
He's like, if you want to do it, I will support you. So I did. A year later, we licensed Love by the Slice Baking and Catering Company in the city of Tacoma, and we started selling pound cake. We had a CMS page and PayPal.
I love it. You got to start somewhere. Tell the people, start with what you have. Start where you are.
We baked it wherever we lived. That's where we baked. Okay. And so we had the CMS page. People go on there and order, or they would get the phone number and call us and place their order. We would fulfill it and deliver the order. And we were doing that in 2002. So full circle, this is so many years later, we've now evolved. Our customers started asking us to ice cakes and put decorations on the cakes. And so pound cake being sweet by itself, I couldn't imagine just laying buttercream on top of that. I had to find another solution, right? So we expanded from pound cake and started making all occasion cakes and event cakes and party cakes and things like that. And I think back in the day, my customers didn't even know what fondant was, right? So like 15 years later, we started getting requests for fondant wrap cakes. So I had to learn how to wrap a cake in fondant, I'm self-taught.
So how did you learn? You're self-taught, right?
So this is the funny part.
How did you do that?
I would ask people, how much time do I have before you need this cake? And I said, I don't need it till next month. Also, I can learn anything in 30 days. So I would go out on YouTube and I would watch videos and I would watch people icing cakes and making the icing smooth and getting the edges tight. And then I would go in the kitchen and I would practice and I would make it happen. I remember somebody asked me to draw a basketball on the top of their cake. And I was like, well, how long do I have? They said about 30 days. I said, I can learn anything in 30 days. So I went and learned how to, that was the ugliest basketball I've ever seen on top of a cake.
I was about to say, did it look like a pumpkin?
It looked like a basketball and I piped it and did it myself. So I was like, if I can do that, I can do anything, right?
That is really inspiring because, I know so many of us, we are like, I can't do that. I'm not a baker. I didn't grow up baking with my mom in the kitchen and you just count yourself out. But you said, no, I'm going to learn. And YouTube is right there.
And my mindset was if I had enough time, I could learn how to do it. And that's pretty much the principle that I've applied from day one. We may step into something we're not familiar with. We may be faced with an opportunity to do something new to us, but there's always an expert at our fingertips. And so we utilize technology to bridge that gap. And it has worked for us for over 20 years. So
it's really amazing to talk to someone who's been in business for over 21 years. It's not often that I speak to someone who has decades of experience. And so we're really going to talk about what it's been like to start from scratch, to keep changing and figuring out new things, but also still be at a place where you're learning, you're trying to get to that next level, right? Because you would still consider yourself a small business, right?
Absolutely. Yes. And so we definitely a small business. I wouldn't even say small. You might even call us a micro business. We have 6 staff. We are still learning the banking game and how all of this works together. But one of the things that we've been really good at is adapting to what's happening in the economy, listening to what our customers and our community needs are, and engaging there, and it has worked for us time and time again. I can remember one of my customers used to buy a 6-inch cake, strawberry scream, same cake every single year for his birthday. And maybe 6 years ago now, might be even been longer than that, he called, he said, I love this strawberry scream cake. I love it, but I'm just by myself. and I'm struggling on what to do with the rest of the cake because I don't like throwing things away, And he said,
Yeah.
had you ever thought about making a cupcake? And I looked and I was like, a cupcake? Why haven't I ever thought of making cupcakes? It was the oddest thing, right? So I was like, yeah, we could do a
Right.
cupcake. So I went and bought a cupcake pan. And little did I know that cupcakes pay the rent. So this is,
Is that
yes,
right?
I mean, we sell
Okay.
enough
Okay.
cupcakes to take care of our overheads, a large percentage of our overhead.
So when did you start the cupcakes?
I can't remember exactly, but I remember this was a conversation we had at my house on a Sunday afternoon because he was getting ready to place an order for his annual birthday cake. And the thought of a cupcake came. And as soon as he asked me, I was like, well, my customer's asking for a cupcake. I need to prepare a cupcake.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. So it had to have been, probably about 8-9 years ago.
Interesting. And what is it about the cupcakes versus the cakes that is such a money maker?
Well, I think people value smaller portions. They value being able to grab and go. And so that's one of the things that has helped us with cupcake sales is that we pre-package. We're not just a bakery. We are actually a manufacturer of premier baked goods. So we make a lot of different desserts. We pre-package. And we have a number of revenue streams, which help to balance our revenues. And so we have been really fortunate, especially during COVID. I'll tell you, during COVID, when people realized they could order a prepackaged cupcake, our business took off. Like, it was crazy. People were having drive-through parties and they would have boxes and boxes, thousands of our cupcakes sitting to the side where they could just hand people a prepackaged cupcake. And so I think people, especially during the pandemic, they value being able to keep people safe from germs and being, becoming ill. So the prepackaged product really served us well. And understanding too, that having the ability to take orders online and deliver to people's doors without having any contact. I mean, people found names for it, contactless delivery. Man, we've been doing this for 20 years. We've always been dropping cake at people's front door, So it was like the norm for us. So we were able to just take off and serve the community and provide them with sweets to cure their sweet teeth. And it worked out really well for us.
I want to go backwards a little bit and hear a little bit more about the actual process of making the cakes. So how did you know when it was time to move out of your kitchen, and how did you go about getting a commercial kitchen?
So we were actually forced into a commercial kitchen, to be honest. We were in communication with a friend who had businesses out at the SeaTac airport. And they were discussing branching out and launching a restaurant operation. And we were going to provide the dessert for that operation. So to be a part of that whole package, we had to fill out paperwork with SeaTac Airport. We had to get involved with the Port of Seattle. And as we were going through that process and making sure we were checking all the boxes, I had to certify as a woman-owned and minority-owned business. So I think OMWBE or OWMBE certification. And so going through that process, one of the consultants, so I put my application together, packet of paper like this. And he was looking, he's like, I don't see your certification or your permits to bake in this application. I was like, huh? Well, I went to the health department. They said I didn't need a permit for what I'm doing. So what else do I need? They said, oh, if you're not permitted through the health department, you need to be certified through the Department of Agriculture of Washington State. And I was like, I've never even heard of them. Never even heard of them. So that led me to go to Washington State Department of Agriculture, learned that there was this whole other world that existed around food, and realized, oh, we're baking from home. We make too much money to bake from home, so we have to find a commercial space. So that's how we found out that we needed to find a commercial space. And it just so happened around that time, a mutual friend, one of my business clients, she had a friend who was a biotech engineer. And he had just taken a lease out on a space downtown Tacoma. And it's a historic building called The Wedge. Historically, It had been a location for homeless people to come and have a hot meal throughout the day. And so he was going to use it and make labs so that people can come in and do science, right? But down on the bottom floor was this huge kitchen that he had no use for. So our mutual friend connected us, and that's how I got access to my first commercial kitchen. And so I moved in and I started baking, and that was just phenomenal because for the first time I had like multiple ovens to use to bake products. So it allowed me to scale and be able to accept more business. And that was just,
I'm sure that was more efficient.
Oh my goodness, it was wonderful. You know, you actually had a 3-compartment sink and not a 1 or 2, compartment sink.
Right.
So it really made operations a lot more easy. And it allowed us to expand. So we started offering some other products and services as a result of that. But the challenge that goes with that is now you have overhead, right? So you got to pay for space and all of that.
You're going from your home, no overhead, to this commercial kitchen. And how are you financing this at this point? So did you still have a full-time job or were you just reinvesting revenue?
So up until the point that I got the commercial space, I had been working full-time and doing this on the side. 2017, I lost my job. And as I was packing up my office, I was 1 block from the city municipal building where I get my business license renewed every year. I was 1 block from there. I heard a voice say, go down to the municipal building and make sure that your license is intact. So I put the last of the items out of my office into my trunk. I walked from the building where I was down to the municipal office or municipal building. Went into the license department, asked them, I know I have a business license, but how much time do I have before it has to be renewed? They said, your license is good through the end of the year. And by the time I walked back to my car, I had a plan on how to launch my business full time. I made 3 phone calls and I had 10 cake orders, and I have not looked back.
Wow. Now, you said 2017. So you initially
started
selling around 2002, right?
15.
So you were side hustling for 15 years.
And let me tell you about the side hustle.
Yes, please.
When I first made up my mind that I was going to do this, there was a lady that heard that I was going to be baking cakes. She had a house that had 2 kitchens. She opened up the second kitchen for me. There were 4 ovens in this kitchen. And this was just like a residential house. This house was amazing, right? But she had a whole second kitchen that she didn't use. So she allowed me to come in there and use all her ovens. She had mixers. I just brought the materials, unloaded, produced, packaged, reloaded, delivered. And then it was a whole thing, right? A lot of work.
What kind of?
A lot of work.
Yeah.
So that got me started. And in that location, I grew my business like over 300%. Like it happened so fast. The problem was I was no longer getting sleep. And I had 3 babies, a husband, to juggle with all of this going on. Yeah. So it was like.
And did you have any employees at this point?
No, it was me, myself, and I, right? And so the blessing in it was that I had a company that they bought from me every month because they had birthdays and anniversaries and everything. And they just supported me. And it was a connection that my aunt Denise Barsh opened up for me. And they just kept buying and kept buying. And then we were growing. And I was like, I'm not getting any sleep. I'm falling asleep on the road. This is not going to work, right? If I hurt myself, I can't make cake, right?
Yeah.
So I decided I was going to quit. I'm done. This is way more than what I was ready for.
Away.
I was ready to throw in the towel. I told my aunt, I appreciate everything you've done, but I can't keep this up. I started business to create time for my family, and now I have no time for my family. I only have time for myself. So I need to just shut down, and then maybe I'll revisit it when my kids are older or something, So she told her boss what I was getting ready to do. And the boss and her sister called me on my phone. And they said to me, Cassandra, You have wonderful product. You are in the process of building a fantastic brand. You cannot quit. And I said, well, I need sleep. Unless somebody got a plan on how they can help me get some sleep so I can keep up what I got
Yep.
going on, I'm happy to hear it. Those two ladies proposed that I bake solely for their company until I was ready to launch my business full time. And they sent
Wow.
business my way. They kept me busy. They let me practice on them. I was creating flavors and profiles and desserts.
And what was their company? Did they have a dessert
They were
company?
in property management and
What?
development. Property developers and property management. Yes, they were all about real estate. Okay. And
Okay.
for 10 years, that's what I did. I said, okay, I'll give it a shot.
So what was the connection? Sorry, I'm a little bit lost. So were you making cakes for their clients?
Yes. So my aunt worked for this company and my aunt told them I was baking cakes. They heard about it. So
Okay.
they started buying cakes from me.
Okay.
And so that's how we got connected. Well, when they heard I was going to quit, they were like, oh, that means our cakes go away. And no, that's not working for us. Right. So, so they called me and proposed that I just bake for them and I could practice. I could
Okay.
try new things and they were still going to pay me to do it. And that's what I did for 10 years. So
Okay.
in that 10-year time frame, you know, I moved from the first location. I'm now living, I think at one point I was in an apartment. I mean, I had buttercream all over the place. Looked like an art studio. I had some frosting and everything. And so I just baked. And when that day came, when I lost my job, I was able to call them and let them know, hey, I'm ready now. And they made sure that I had business coming my way. That's how I got the connection for the commercial space. They just believed in me, you know, and I think that's
such a
listen,
blessing to have people believe in you at that
I'm
level
telling you.
and support you and you know allow you this space to grow as a cake maker, designer, and to just do things that are now reaping rewards for you in your
Yes.
business. So that is just amazing. That's truly, truly a blessing. When you did launch your business full time, what was the process of finding what is now the space for Love by the Slice? Where are you currently in Washington?
We are currently located at 1112 South 11th Street in Tacoma, Washington.
Okay.
This is the Hilltop Business District and happens to be the neighborhood in which I was born and raised.
Look at that. That's a full circle moment for you.
I'm so excited.
Oh, wow.
I'm telling you, I'm so excited about being back home and being able to serve a community that served me many, many decades, brought me so much
is
love,
beautiful.
shared so much love and
That is
support to
beautiful.
me. And so it is exciting to be back here. I now have people that have come alongside our partners. We have a phenomenal baker, outstanding cake designer, just two beautiful people, and they are passionate about what they do. They're taking us to the next level. So, I mean, it's just been great to be here.
That sounds awesome. I haven't been to Washington, but like that whole district sounds like a place I want to check out.
And we have construction. So the T line, the Hilltop T line is up and running. So
Okay.
we've got the tram that runs through our neighborhood all the way down to the Stadium District. And I believe it also goes down to the Tacoma Dome. So you got this whole thoroughway that is opened up for public transportation. We have construction happening in every single direction of our business. So there's so much change happening around us. And of course, with change, you have to mitigate those impacts on your business. But the reality is, with the amount of support that we have garnered over the years, we just continue to find ways to make it work, you know. And I think if I don't say anything else to a person who's thinking about starting a business, you know, you got to have grit, right? You have to be able to adapt because there are so many things that are beyond your control. You get up with a plan, but Tacoma Public Utilities can call you and say, hey, there's going to be a power outage in 2 days, 7 days. And you got to figure out how to keep your material, your raw materials, you know, safe and protected, right?
Fresh.
Yeah. And nobody's cutting a check for you to go buy a
Right.
generator and keep things cold, right?
I'm always fascinated by that. When I walk by a bakery, I'm like, how do they remember,
Yes.
how do you know what's fresh, what should be thrown out if it's not bought yet? I'm always like looking at the cakes in the window
Yes.
when it's closed,
Yes.
like, how do they do
Yes.
this? Like, how do I know what's
Yes. And,
fresh?
and, and we're thankful for the Pierce County Health Department. We're thankful for Washington State
Yes.
Department of Agriculture. They help us, tell us the rules, help us to stay within the
Mhm.
guidelines, and they take our ideas and help us ensure that we have the safety measures in place
Okay.
to provide a quality product to the community. So,
Yeah. Speaking of that, I love that there's that support. I know when you moved into this space, I understand that there's a learning curve there as far as permits and things you needed to
yes.
do. And tell us about that process, like of meeting the requirements and finding out like, hey, we actually need to invest X amount of dollars into this to meet code.
Yeah. Shocking. A lot of it.
So what happened?
So to end up where I am here in the Hilltop Business
Mhm.
District, I was literally on my way to sign a lease in East Tacoma. And I got a
Okay.
phone call on my way to the lease signing to say, hey, we had a conversation about 5 years ago, right? This is a property owner. We had a conversation about 5 years ago. You probably don't remember me, but you had told me that you wanted your first storefront in Hilltop where you were born and raised. Well, I think I have the perfect space. And I'm like, oh, I'm on my way to sign a lease I'm on my way. Like I'm 2 minutes away from the location. She just screamed, don't do it. Don't do it. Come, turn the car around and come look at the space before you sign the lease. So I was like, okay, let me call. So I made arrangements to come a little bit later to the lease signing. I drove over to Hilltop. And when my foot hit the threshold, it was a Subway. When my foot hit the threshold, the Lord said, this is the place you're supposed to be.
Really?
Yes. And so
Wow.
I was like, okay, I got to call the other people and tell them, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to move forward. So we got this space, signed the lease a month later.
Yeah.
We thought because it was a Subway, Subway bakes bread every day, right?
Mhm.
We'll just be able to roll
Yeah.
my little oven in there and start baking cakes. Nope. Had to submit a request to the city of Tacoma that included a rendering of what we wanted the space to look like. So I don't know if anybody else knows how much architects charge for renderings. It's not
Yeah.
cheap, right?
Sounds expensive.
Thank you.
Yep.
And in my mind at the time,
Yeah.
I could have simplified it, but I wanted to do it the right way. I hired an architect, got the rendering of the space, thousands of dollars to do that, submitted the permits, thousands of dollars to do that, only to find I have to do construction in order to bake a single cake in this space.
Why?
We had
What?
to install a grease interceptor. We had to upgrade the electrical to ensure that it would be able to support all of the equipment that we're going to bring in. So you're talking $50,000 worth of work.
And you know what's crazy? Had you even heard of a grease receptor before? Because I had it.
I'd heard
So-
about it because I worked in fast food as a young lady, and we
Okay.
used to have people, clean the grease trap and make sure it, was clear and all of these kinds of things. But never had I
Okay.
heard that was a requirement for a bakery.
Mm.
Code changed. Plumbing code changed. Electrical code had changed over the years. And so what we learned was that the Subway was grandfathered in under old code. I was a new business, so new code applied to me. And so that was in February of 2020.
Okay.
So we got the lease August 2019. We got word from the city February 2020 that
Yes.
we had to do construction.
Were you operating in between that time, at least making some money? No. Wow.
So listen, in April 22, the governor shut the state down. So we didn't even have time. I had just finished my capital campaign to raise the money for construction. So dead in the water. I sat in this shop looking at these gold walls, okay? And this New York subway wallpaper. And I said, Lord, you brought me here. You helped me get this lease.
Yep.
What do you want me to do? I got 1,250 square feet of space that we got to do something with. Obviously, baking is not it. So there must be something else. From that conversation, to 9 days later, I wrote a program because people were sick and they could not get access to food. And so I slipped into nonprofit mode, had years of nonprofit experience, served on boards with nonprofits. I moved right into that. The Lord gave me a vision, and I created a program called Revive Washington. And we boxed shelf-stable food and supplies up for people who were in quarantine due to COVID. And we dropped the boxes at their front doors. So they had food, they had supplies, they had hygiene care, and it sustained them during that 7 to 10 day or 14-day period of quarantine. They were still able to feed themselves and their families. And we did that for 2.5 years.
So was this something that you received funding for? Did you get payment for this?
What happened was I got the idea. I called a friend and told him what I was going to do. He said, I'm sending my wife down right now to bring you a $500 check. I had no idea. I was just...
You have the best friends.
Let me tell you, I'm telling you, and I prayed, Lord, send me good people. Put good people around me. Yes, please put good people around me. And he's done that. And they brought me a $500 check. The day that I opened the program and launched the website, I got a phone call from a company here in the city of Tacoma. We got 1,200 people that need the service that you're providing. Can you help us? And I said, well, I just spent $470 some odd of the 500 that I had. So I'm happy to help, but I need to understand what level of support, and like you got 1,200 people, that's going to cost, right? So they said, we want to be served every week. I said, well, I guess we better find some money. We found the money. Grants started coming. We reached out to a couple of agencies, 20,000 here, 15,000 from here, 10,000 over here. So it funded the program. It kept us working for that whole 2.5 year period until the need started to dwindle. And then by that time, we had raised the capital for the construction. So when it's meant to be, it's going to be, you know, and all of these things happened in concert, and it was an ebb and flow, it was a give and a take, but everything flowed, and we were able to sustain during that whole course of the pandemic, you know, because we stayed closed a long time. Our state did.
That's really scrappy, and that's really just really smart of you and resourceful to think about, because I know that was stressful. And I know being hit with a unexpected $50,000 that you need to do in construction in this new place that you just invested in and are so excited about for your business. I can't imagine like being hit with that. But you raised a lot of important points around why small business owners need so much capital. Like we're constantly being hit with things that we didn't know. You don't know what you don't know. Again, like this grease receptor, this changing out things that I just never would have thought that was needed.
And this is the thing that I think a lot of people don't realize. And then we're not even going to talk about the community impacts, like being Black and being a female, the odds that are stacked against us being successful in business. You know, most Black businesses are undercapitalized. I've been fortunate. I've been really blessed. I have great people, but I also listen to advice. I also seek consultation. I also put myself in places where there are people around me that know more than me. They're better at this than me, so that I can challenge myself, that I can be challenged and grow and become the kind of business owner that is necessary to actually grow a business from a side hustle, to a whole, you know, limited liability company and eventually a corporation. So, you know, we have to grow as individuals in order for a business to grow, right? And so just getting on the phone and reaching out and say, hey, I don't understand this. What do you suggest? What recommendations do you have? What haven't I thought of, you know?
And you're always seeking out these opportunities because it's like, you can't do this on your own unless you're consistently learning, researching, just taking advantage of any funding that's out there. And, you speaking of that, how did you even hear about the Comcast RISE program? Do you remember?
It was an email that was sent to me.
Okay.
I think a member of the Pierce County Black Collective sent it. And
Got it.
I filled it out first year.
What made you want to apply?
At the
Did
time,
you see it right away and say, let me do
yes,
it?
because at the time I needed to get access to accounting services, and I needed to get all of my data into something that was going to automate my financials, so that at some point in time I'd be able to look at my financials at a glance and see what I need to see about my business. And so I just saw this is a perfect opportunity for me to gain access to that. And then also there was another Commerce had put out something as well. And so I was able to gain access to the accounting services through that grant. But the Comcast RISE that actually came, I applied for it the same year, didn't get it. The next year I got it, and it helped me with marketing. So doing some work around social media, getting some consultation around hiring staff, finishing up my employee handbook. I mean, some really critical deliverables I was able to get through the Comcast RISE grant. So I'm excited.
Love it.
Yeah, it has opened the door.
And I'm glad that you mentioned, a lot of people don't know that you can apply more than once. If you didn't get it the first year, apply again.
Yes. And I had intended I was going to apply until I got it, because I knew it was a resource that would be helpful.
Don't count yourself out yet.
That's it.
So, but just to clarify, you applied for a grant and you won that from the Comcast RISE Investment Fund.
I did.
Okay.
I did.
How did you feel when you won that?
I was like, Lord, thank you. Some help.
I know sometimes we feel like we apply for stuff and we're not sure, could it be ever be me? But you actually won.
I was so grateful. Let me tell you, I was so grateful. Thank you, Comcast. Thank you so much, because it really was what we needed to accomplish at least 2 to 3 critical steps that we needed to make. And it helped us to accomplish those steps and get us to this place. And now we've got I can't release all the good stuff that's getting ready to happen, but it's positioned us to further capitalize on the growth, the development that we were able to get through the Comcast RISE grant. And it has set us up for the next phase of expansion. And I can't wait to share what's happening. I got to keep it under wraps right now.
Keep it under wraps for now. But
so
speaking of expansion, though, how does it feel when, in order to expand, you have to keep what you were holding close to your chest and start to tell people how to do your recipes, how to, do your secret sauce? How do you manage that with expansion?
So I think that it's a give and take, right? I have a inner circle that I can trust with anything. So this inner circle has yet to fail me. So if I have an idea, I take it to my inner circle. They'll either balk it, no, or they say, yeah, right? And if they give me if they say thumbs down, we don't go any further than that. If they say thumbs up, then we go to the next step, right? And we start involving consultants and start asking the industry experts, how are people doing this? Has it ever been done? And just establishing, how impactful this will be to community. I think that one has to decide in business, am I going to be in business by myself, for myself? Or is this something that will grow beyond me?
Yeah.
And it's a different answer for everybody. For me, this business will grow beyond me. Yeah. So there's a certain level of trust that has to be applied in order for this to grow beyond me. Does it come without risk? Absolutely not. Are you going to have situations that don't work out in your favor? Probably so. But at the end of the day, if I know this is supposed to grow beyond me, I have to take that risk. I'll take calculated risks, and I will certainly do all that I can to mitigate the level of risk. But there's always going to be that risk. But here's the blessing in it. I'm a creative. So if something happens over here that I didn't anticipate, there's another path. And all I got to do is get on it and pursue that. And it always works out. This is
I love that.
Putting one foot right in front of the other. Yeah. Yeah. Because if he gave me an idea today over here,
exactly,
he's going to give me another one over here. I can do it again. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the blessing.
And that is, That is the mindset of abundance that we all need to
That's
have,
right.
because sometimes the fears, while warranted, they keep us in this limited, like, if I lose this one thing,
Yes.
that's it, I'm
It's a
done.
wrap.
And you forget that, no, like, the ability to come up with this idea, the ability to do what I've just done, it is a testament to what I'm able to
That's
do.
right.
I can do it
Absolutely.
again. I could do it in a different way.
Absolutely.
So I love that you said
Thank
that.
you.
That is just such an important reminder. We didn't touch on this, but I wanted to make sure that I highlighted that with the money that you won with the Comcast RISE fund, you were able to invest in expanding your product offerings, invest in payroll.
Yes.
So all of the things that we just touched on with expansion also comes with getting the resources, continuing to go out there and get funding and get, as much as you can for your
That's
business.
right. Yeah. And the Comcast RISE, I always thinking about how can I take this pot of money and do the best that I can with it? How can I best steward these dollars? Because at the end of the day, I'm not doing this alone. I'm standing on the shoulders of somebody else's vision. Somebody at Comcast had a vision to help small Black-owned, woman-owned business. I don't want to disappoint that vision. I want to contribute. I want to bring a positive light. And I want Comcast to be able to say, hey, we invested in that business over there. And guess what? It was a good investment. And that goes for anything. Everything I do, I think about my mom. I think about my dad. I think about my grandparents. I think about my husband. I think about my children. This is legacy that we're building. We're not just doing this to be doing something. We're building, and we're not just building things, but we're building people, and we're building a future for somebody else. The land on which the shop that I have, the land that it's built on was donated by a man by the name of John Connor in the late 1800s, a Black man in real estate and also an attorney. He donated 67 acres of land to the city of Tacoma for public use. You think it's by happenstance I'm here doing what I'm doing? Absolutely not. John Connor had a vision hundreds of years ago that somebody like me was going to need a safe place to do business. And here I am. A long time later. Here I am. A long time later. Okay. And fulfilling that vision. So this is a really great season. And it's good stuff.
So, Cassandra, it was so great having you in the guest chair for this special episode. Before you go, I'd love to know a little bit more about your experience with profitability. You've spoken openly about how that kind of still eludes you. Well, at least the last time I heard you speak about this. So you can be a small business owner. You could be in business for a long time, but it's still challenging. So what's been your experience, and what are you working on to change that?
So one of the things that we did that was very pivotal for the business was to automate our finances. We can now see the business at a glance, right?
Okay.
One of the things that I think has helped us, when you don't know something, you just don't know it. But there's some things you do know, right? Your gut serves you quite well. My gut serves me very well. If I take on a new project, that project has to be profitable.
Yeah.
If I have 15 projects that are profitable, then 9 times out of 10, my business is going to be profitable, right? So I watch what's in the bank. If I don't have it, I don't have it. Bottom line, right? We have to balance how we utilize credit. There are times we have to use more credit than we really want to get us through to a certain point. But there's always got to be a plan to bring that credit back into balance. So there's ebbs and flows. There's ups and downs. The post-pandemic economy is a beast. I watched cake mix go from $86 for 50 pounds to $216 for 50 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know about you, but that makes making cake really, really expensive, right? So it's not, and that's just one product. Every single product that I use sustained an increase of over 30%. So imagine the impact that that's had on my business. It's hard out here.
Yeah. And then you have to balance raising prices, customer happiness, customer retention, all of that.
Sometimes you have to narrow what you're able to offer. right? So you
Right.
can't keep doing the same stuff when costs go up like that. You have to think about, okay, what's selling the most? Let's focus on selling that. And just do
Okay.
more of that. So you have to streamline
Yeah.
sometimes. You have to scale back sometimes. You have to pivot
Right.
sometimes.
Yep.
We have multiple streams of revenue, right? We
Yeah.
have to look at the most profitable stream and grow that,
Yep.
So once again, it's just about being adaptable. People talk about being bankable. Listen, I haven't got a dime of cash from anybody's bank. It has yet to happen. And it's okay
Yeah.
because I've been able to continue to grow and expand without it. But one day I'm
Hmm.
going to need it. And so as we
Yep.
talk about debt to income ratios, getting an understanding of that, what does it really mean to be profitable? How do you remain profitable and continue to support the community in a way that is meaningful to them? And so these are things that we talk about all the time. We try to figure out, are we going to continue to do this or should we stop doing this?
Right.
So it's all of these kinds of
Yeah.
conversations that are happening all the time, but I'm able to see at a glance what's working and not working. And when you
Yes.
find out that
I
it's
think
not
this will
working, you
be,
stop doing it.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
I think this will be so helpful for so many people because I don't want anyone out there beating themselves up if, you have good months, you have bad
that's right.
months. You don't beat yourself up if you're like, I think I should be here by now because it is nuanced. And, years like 2020 to 2022 happen,
Yes.
right? So I wish we could talk even more, but I know we both have to run. So before you go, I know you ship nationwide. Is it nationwide or is it
It's
certain states?
nationwide. We ship.
Okay,
Yes.
so tell the people where they can connect with you after this episode and where they can get Love by the Slice.
Wonderful. You can find us on the World Wide Web at www.lovebytheslice.com. You can call us at 253-588-2253. And if you are in the area, please stop by and visit us at 1112
Yes, and
South 11th Street, Tacoma, Washington, 98405. We ship pound cake. We ship cookies. We ship bars. So there's a lot of things that you can have shipped to your family members during the holiday,
yes,
or to
yes, I was
yourself
just about
when
to
you have a
say.
sweet tooth that needs to be cured. Yes.
Or to yourself,
That's it. That's
exactly.
it. That's it. I
Exactly.
appreciate
Cassandra,
you.
it was an absolute delight having you here. You guys hear the phones
Thank
ringing
you.
off the hook. So Cassandra gotta go. She got a lot of cakes,
Listen,
a lot of slices
the
to
people are
serve.
ready.
All
All
right.
right. Thank you. You guys be
And with
blessed.
that, there you
All
have
right.
it.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to Side Hustle Pro. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts. It helps other side hustlers just like you to find the show. And if you want to hear more from me, you can follow me on Instagram at Side Hustle Pro. Plus, sign up for my 6-bullet Saturday newsletter at sidehustlepro.co/newsletter. When you sign up, you'll receive weekly nuggets from me, including what I'm up to, personal lessons, and my business tip of the week. Again, that's sidehustlepro.co/newsletter to sign up. Talk to you soon.